Hello, this is Georgianne Culver. Welcome to my channel. I'm doing a plan with me today in my Erin Condren horizontal. It's for the week of September 4th through the 10th. I'm doing a collab with Run with Craft Scissors, Leslie. We're doing a kit by Britannia Nicole. I think it's just called Fall. F-A-L-L, and it's what we're doing. We're both members of the, well, all three of us are members of the Design With Me plan group, and this will be going up Sunday, so trying to get it planned now. Here are my full boxes. Isn't that pretty? It's got some quarter boxes at the bottom. Here's my date covers, the washi tape. These are scallop quarter boxes, a scallop half box, 3-heart checklist, movie marquee, bill due, payday, day off. And here's half boxes, sidebar items, functionals, my weekend banner, and some little flags. Here's my full heart checklist, some more quarter boxes. And here are my headers and bottom washi, which I don't use, but just can't throw this away, so I'm going to find some kind of use for it because it's just too pretty. So all right, let me take my tassel off so I can flip this thing back and forth. Uh-oh. Okay. Let's see what I can do now with this. Well, it would just hang over a little bit, and it's not like it has writing or anything on it, so if I trimmed a little tiny bit of it, I don't think it would hurt. I'll get my oh, I need my scissors for that. That ain't gonna work. That knife ain't gonna work. I need scissors for this one. And of course they're not 1 second. And I guess I could save this whole sheet and use it, because I don't use headers on this one either, because I'd have to turn them sideways. Well, maybe not. No, I like using it up here and then cutting a flag. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Well, I did it again, didn't I? Let's bring it down. Let's see what happens. I'll cut too much off. Yeah, my granddaughters have been watching they started watching my plan with me when they found out Grandma was on YouTube. They just thought that was something. So they've been watching me, but they said I needed to how did they say it? Make it more interesting or be more... Oh, look. Kids. What you gonna do? Oh, that ain't... That almost fit. Oh, but yeah. Okay. take this, cut it in half, and make another flag out of it. There we go. And I can cut that off. Do the same with this one. Might be too short. Okay. Well, I've got to have it turned right or I can't cut it. Okay. And then this one back over and cut this one. Uh-oh, where'd it go? Get off of that. Okay. Okay. Maybe we'll put it on and cut it first and then make the flag. See if it comes out better. Okay. We'll cut it first. And I can't do anything left-handed. I used to be left-handed when I started school. I was left-handed. And so I could already write my name and some of my ABCs when I was starting in kindergarten. And then when I got to school, the teacher told my mom and daddy that I needed to be retrained so that I would use my right hand instead of my left. So that's what they did. I mean, back then you listened to your teachers and you listened to the doctors. They were like, you know, God. They knew everything. Nobody questioned them like they do nowadays. You have to justify everything you tell someone nowadays, so. Yeah, I wish I'd have. I'm leaving it. Alright, let's get started on our full boxes here. And I'm going to do I'll do this pretty one. Do I want to do that or do I want to bring it down? Because I don't have tape to go on these lines unless I get my washi tape out. Let me just see what it would look like if I brought it all the way down. If I would like it like that. Yeah, I don't want to bring it all the way down. I got to leave a little white. There we go. There we go, there we go. Alright, let's put this pretty butterfly. Orange. Oh. Yeah, I'm going to have to trim off or bring it up. We're going to bring it up. Alright. So, the kids were saying I needed to be more animated, I guess. Tell more stories or something. I don't know. I don't know what to do, because when I start filming, it's like my mind goes blank. All these good stories and things, or even remembering different things that happened when I was a kid. It just kind of, everything goes out of my head. Why didn't that turn out right? Bring it down just a little. If I have to trim it off, I can trim it off. Let it lift a little bit. That's good enough. Yeah. Let's do that. Kind of reddish. And cookie pumpkins. Okay. Oh, I could tell you about when my kids were little. It seemed like I was at the emergency room every week. One of them was getting hurt. One of them was getting cut, or it just was always something. Always something. We had what they call a garden tub, jacuzzi, bathtub at our old house, and the boys were at the house one day, and the older one was chasing the baby through the house. Well, he jumped in my bathtub and trying to get away, and he scooted along, and he didn't have any shoes on, and he hung his big toe and the one next to it on that stopper right in the dead center of the tub. And he ripped that skin in between his toe, cut it, ripped it bad enough that we had to go get stitches. So here I come, picking him up, and we're going to the emergency room. And he was very stoic. He didn't, he didn't cry that much, and he was, Mama, I don't want stitches. I don't want stitches. Mama, I don't. And I said, well, you have to do whatever the doctor tells us we've got to do. So we get to the doctor, and he says, sure enough, he says, yeah, you've got to have stitches. And they get him prepped and ready, and they start putting the stitches on. And that kid's feet were so tough from going barefooted all the time that he bent the needle. They had to get a bigger needle. He actually bent the needle they were sewing him up with. It was so funny. Oh, but I couldn't say nothing. My feet are that tough too. In the summertime, I go barefooted all the time, and I did when I was a kid. I hated wearing shoes. So, but that was funny. And then one time, he was in his bedroom. This is the baby again. He was in his bedroom, messing with his tackle box, trying to get all his fishing equipment ready. And I was in my bedroom at the other end of the house, and I had my door shut, and he had his door shut, and my older son was in his room with his door shut. So, well, the baby had evidently dropped a fishing hook, and it got hung up in his carpet. And then he hung it in his foot, and he couldn't get it out. It was in there so deep that he couldn't get it out, and he couldn't move to go to the door to open it to call. He was in his bedroom hollering, and the oldest boy had his rock and roll music up so loud he couldn't hear anything. Well, I had my door shut so I wouldn't have to listen to the rock and roll music. I couldn't hear him. And I had gotten up to start supper. And I went in the baby's room just to check on him, see what he was doing. And he was hung up in the floor, and I had to get the wire cutters and cut the carpet. I had to cut the hook out of the carpet, take the baby to the emergency room so the doctor could cut the hook out of his foot and give him a couple of more stitches. This wasn't the same time. This was a different time. And then what else did he do? He was running outside one day, and he fell. We had a big pond in our backyard, and he fell by that pond. Well, there was a stub, just a piece of a stick sticking up, and he fell on that stub, and it went in his hand. Well, I took him to well, no, I didn't that day. What I did was I cleaned it out really good with peroxide and put antibiotic cream on it and bandaged it up, and it was just a stub, and he said he was fine otherwise, so I didn't do anything else to it. Well, I went to work the next day and dropped the baby off at school, and it wasn't long till the principal was calling me, and she was so upset and mad. She was just, why did you send this baby to school and his hand looking like it did? And I said, Miss Jones, I don't know what you're talking about. He heard it yesterday, but it looked fine this morning to me. I mean, it wasn't swelled. It wasn't red. I cleaned it again and rebandaged it, and but evidently, from the time I dropped that kid off until she called me, it had swelled double in size and turned blood red. Just one second. Oh, I had to get my white out. And she was so upset with me because she thought I had sent that kid to school looking like that, and I didn't. It did not look like that when I sent him to school. So, of course, I was working then, so I had to call my mama. She wasn't working anymore. She came out and picked him up, took him back to the emergency room, where they x-rayed him, and he had fractured a tiny little bone in his hand, just a little bone, and he had the puncture wound right here. And so they had to put a drain in the puncture and casted his hand, and I had to take him down there every 3 days. I had to take him back to the little emergency room, and they would have to take that cast off, clean, drain, redress his hand, and put another cast on. And we did that until that little hand healed. I thought, oh my Lord. What else? But don't ever say that. Never say what else, because I've got to show you what else. When he got older, and I allowed him to ride, the neighborhood, and he could ride his bike over to his little friend's house. He was riding it one day, and I don't know how he did it, but he had a wreck, face first over the handlebars, cut his face and mouth and just cut it all up. Just little bitty tiny cuts all over it. They were big enough that it needed 1 or 2 stitches for each little place that he was cut. But the doctor said, oh, you know, it'll be all right. I said, yeah, it'll heal, but it'll be puffy and leave a really bad scar. And he said, oh, he'll be, I said, this is his face. I do not want him having all of those scars all over his face. I said, put stitches in. And I thought my son was about to have a fit because he, of course, didn't want any stitches. But, yeah, we wasn't going to do that. I know all about those scars. I've got a bad one on my leg where a dog, a boxer, when I was a kid, we were visiting a friend of my mama's, and she had kids, and we were all down on the ground petting their, I don't know if it was a pit bull or a bulldog. I'm not sure which one it was. But anyway, we had all been playing with the dog, and he had gotten up under the car to take him a nap. Well, me and one of the little kids that lived at the house squatted down there, and we were going to pet the dog. And he didn't want to be petted, evidently, because he jumped up and he grabbed me by the leg, and he took off running, shaking me like a rag doll. They had a maid that worked at their home, and I guess kept the kids in the house. Anyway, whatever. She had to beat that dog off of me with a broom. He was not going to turn loose, and they had to rush me to the emergency. And they didn't stitch me up, so I've got hideous. I got 3 really bad scars in my leg where, of course, if it needs stitches, the inside pooches out. You don't get the stitches, it pooches out, and then it leaves a really bad scar. And I didn't want that on his face, all over his face. The doctor saying it'd give him character, and I'm going to stitch the kid's face up. And the older one was just as bad. What did he do? He was running, and my brother-in-law is 4 months older than my oldest son. So they grew up like brothers. They grew up, there's 6 years difference between my 2 boys. And, you know, it's my brother-in-law Billy and my son Donnie, and they grew up like brothers. And then here come little bit at the end of 6 years later. And so Billy and my son Peanut, we call him Peanut, were playing, and Billy Jack got to chasing him, and he slid. Peanut slid in the yard, and he went up against the shed that we had out there, our little tool shed that we had out there, and my husband had left a swing blade. You know what that is? They call it a Joe blade, and it's triangular shaped at the bottom where the blade is serrated. And anyway, that kid hit that blade with his foot, and he cut the heel was just flopping on his foot. It was horrible, horrible. So loaded his butt up and took him to the hospital. I can't even remember how many stitches, because they had to stitch it all inside and outside, and it was a bunch of stitches. So, and then what else did he do? Oh, I know that wasn't all. Oh, he had him a pair of stilts one time. The oldest one did. And he was learning how to walk on them, and he, you know, was outside playing, and he decided he was going to walk off of my front porch. Well, I had 4 steps going, leading from the bottom to the top of the porch. And he tried to walk off just straight from the top to the ground on those crutches, and they slipped and jammed, caught on his ribs and raked and went up under his arm. So I had to take him to the emergency room, make sure he hadn't broke any ribs, because he was hurting really bad. He cut his foot that time. What else did he do? I know he had more stitches than that. They were something though. They were just always doing something. And I call myself watching them, but my goodness gracious, they moved faster than I did. It was always pretty much during the time I was cleaning the house or cooking supper, and here we went. The day he cut his heel, he was out in the yard, and we were having a family reunion, and there were 100 people there. He did it right in the middle of all of the people. So he had plenty of people watching him. I don't care what you do. You could lock them in a darn room, and there'd be some kind of way they could hurt themselves. It's so funny. Now that it's over with. It wasn't funny when it was going on. The youngest son hit the oldest son right in his bread box one time. And when athletes get hit there, it freezes that, that's what the doctor told me, it'll freeze that bread box, or whatever the technical term for it is. And my son couldn't breathe. He couldn't breathe. And so we were rushing him to the emergency room to find out what was going on. And of course I was sitting over there saying prayers, and when it was all over with, my son told me, "Mama, I wasn't even afraid until you started praying." And it scared him. Oh, and it was always something. And they'd go with their daddy every weekend to go mudding. He had a souped up truck that him and all the other rednecks would go out in the middle of the pond on the weekend and run back and forth through the mud. And of course the boys loved that kind of stuff. Or we'd go fishing, or we'd go, we just was always going and doing something. Well, that's staying where it's at. Okay. Let's see. I need sidebars. Those are sidebar. These are sidebar items. And I'm going to put this one right here. Okay. And this one, no, I think I want the habit trackers. What did I do with those? What did I do with those? Oh, here they are. Here they are, here they are. Let's get some washi. Okay. when I was little, Mama was one doing things. She slipped. Daddy had gone trout fishing when we were in Newfoundland. That's where I was born, where my sister was born. My brother was born in St. Louis, so he was already born when we moved there. And Daddy was gone trout fishing, and Mama decided she was going to go over there and sit beside him and Larry. Her and Larry were going to go over there and sit beside Daddy and watch him fish. So she was jumping, trying to jump from one rock to another. And of course, they're slicker than whatever stuff is slick. And she slipped, and when she did, she just pitched my brother out in the middle, out in the middle of the lake. Oh, Daddy had to jump in and save him because Mama couldn't swim back then. She didn't know how. She was. I guess it's really not funny, but it is. It is too. It is now. So, third. This is the fourth. Uh-oh. That doesn't go there. She threw me one time too. They said we were getting on a train when we lived in St. John's, Newfoundland, when I was born. And then we moved to the next little city over, which was Stevensville. Uh-oh, I thought I had one more half box. Yes, okay. Stevensville, and we had to take a train to get there. And Mama tripped again and almost fell, and she pitched me on the railroad track. At least Larry landed in something soft. So yes, I've been pitched on my head. I landed on my head. 8, 9, and 10. And my mama's birthday. This was my mama's birthday. She would be, how old would she be? 82 this year if she was still alive. Okay, Monday is trash. Also today I want my coffee cups. Got to have coffee. Is that gonna look alright with that? Well, I don't have any orange. I'm gonna look for some different ones. I know I've got more coffee cups than that. Okay. Monday is Tuesday. I don't have 6th is a big old do. Laundry. Yeah, that'll go. This will go good. Laundry day. Or do I want it over here? Yeah, let's put it over there. And payday. Today is Friday. Donate. And let's see. I've got a bill due here. Let's put this here. Should have wrote on that first. Insurance. Okay. And I don't know about Thursday. Friday's payday. Don't know if we're doing anything at all. So I'm gonna leave that. No doctor's appointments. And that's the only, let's see. No, it isn't the only bill we've got. Electric bills due. Electric is due. On the 10th. And then we want to plan in this one on Friday. With me. Erin Condren horizontal. Do it up here. Okay. Now. Okay. That's going to be it for this week in my Erin Condren horizontal. Let me see what I've got left out of this kit. I've got, well, I've got my headers and some more of those. And there's some flags. I've got one heart box, and then I've got some functionals. I've got a 3-heart checklist and some quarter boxes. I've got a lot of my washi tape. Could make full boxes out of those. And anyway, washi tape in my decorative boxes. Yep, got all that. And got some more quarter boxes. Yeah, so I've got enough probably to use in my either my traveler's notebook or my personal, one or the other. So you got laundry day down, the insurance. We'll probably do the puppy, give the puppy a bath, but I'll wait. Payday and plan with me. Don't know about this. And Sunday I've got the other bill. And this will be for our meals. This is Instagram and YouTube. Okay, that's it. Thank y'all for stopping to see me. And if you would, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.